In this episode of the podcast, I just wanted to highlight something from Chapter 3 that I think will have a big pertinent impact on the way it is, not just that you use the web, but the way it is that you're able to actually interact with your device and the way it is that you use the web. So I'm going to refer to device here really generically. And what I kind of need you to understand, I guess, is that when I'm referring to device, I mean whatever it is, the native operating system it is, and the native like computing environment it is that your particular computer happens to be. So if it's Windows, that's the device I'm referring to. If you know, so a laptop or a desktop, irrespective, it doesn't matter. If it's Mac OS, it's a laptop or a desktop, irrespective. If it's iOS or Android, phone or tablet or Chrome OS, irrespective. So I will refer to the native device, and that's what I mean. So it's whatever it is or wherever it is that the browser lives is its native environment. There's a ton of different browsers that you can choose. Here on page 105, the text is really talking about the most popular ones, and actually the order they have them listed here is pretty accurate. Google Chrome is far and away the world's most popular browser now, full stop. It doesn't matter if you're on a mobile device or if you're on a desktop platform, Chrome is the most used browser. Microsoft Edge is the one that is baked into Windows operating environments. Firefox is a great open source that means free to use, free to distribute, and maintained essentially by a community of well-meaning individuals, I hope. Safari is the default Apple-based browser, so if you're on Mac OS or iOS. So let me just highlight why you would choose some of these browsers, what are some of the benefits of these browsers, and I'm going to try and present that in a way that for the most part is free of any real bias or judgment except for Chrome. So here we go. I'm going to start with Microsoft Edge. If you have a native machine, actually before we get to that, let's just talk about the native browser for your environment. It is always best to use the native browser if you are interested in battery life or if you are interested in the overall like speed and memory usage of your device. The native browser is the one that is built on purpose to work best in that environment. So if you're on iOS or if you're on Mac OS, that is Safari. And I can tell you the same is true for Windows. If you are on a Windows machine, especially if you are on a Windows laptop or on a Windows tablet, so think about like a Surface Go or a Surface, use Edge because the battery penalty for using any other browser is substantial. The same goes for Mac OS. If you are on Mac OS, use Safari because any other browser, the battery penalty is substantial. On Chrome devices, so Chrome OS, or on Android devices, use Chrome where possible because it is far and away the best browser to use on those platforms. I just want to highlight some of the benefits to each of these so that you can make your own decisions when you're on any of the platforms. Not all of these are available on every platform. Microsoft Edge does now have an iOS and an Android app. And you can choose to use them if you would like. Edge is perfectly acceptable. And that's about the best thing I can say for it. It's clean, it's relatively quick, it doesn't have a lot of plugins, so its overall battery penalty is not so very severe, and it's a fine choice. It's a, you know the developer, you know who Microsoft is, you know they're not going to be scraping data from you, you know they're not going to be stealing essentially your personal private data or browsing history or things of that nature. So Edge is just fine. Firefox, the next one here. Firefox is available on all of your platforms, Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android, and Linux, and every place else, and it is a perfectly good browser. The two things that I will say rather are standout features for Firefox. Number one, you can create an account, and then all of your passwords and all of your usernames and all of your settings and all of your preferences follow you from machine to machine to machine to machine, and that's really pretty great. Number two is in Firefox, when you say do not track, it does not track you. The World Wide Web is free, right? You don't pay anything to get onto the web. You pay to access the web via your cell provider or via your ISP, right? Your internet service providers at home. But you don't pay any additional fees to use, theverge.com or rockvalleycollege.edu or eagle.instructure.com or rvceagle.instructure.com. There's got to be a payout there, right? Companies give you access, but they give you access based on their ability to track you through the web. They do that with cookies, they do that through other means, but in Firefox, when you say do not track, it will not track. So if you are at all concerned about your privacy, and it is my suggestion to you that you should be concerned about your privacy when it comes to the web, that Firefox is really a pretty fantastic browser to use for that. And again, you can use that on Windows, you can use that on Android, you can use that on iOS, you can use that on Mac OS. Safari has the same core concern with your privacy. So baked into every version of Safari now is privacy settings that by default say do not track. So that's pretty fantastic and that's pretty great. However, it's not available on iOS or on any platform that is not iOS. So you cannot use Safari if you are on Windows or Linux or Android platform. Google Chrome is available every place. And the best part about Google Chrome is you probably already use a bunch of Google services, right? So you probably use Gmail. You probably use Google Photos maybe to back up your photos. You may use Google Drive to keep copies of your pertinent files and folders out there. I'll tell you, I use Google products all the time because they are inexpensive to free. So I have entirely too many phones, right? So I have an iOS device and I have an Android device and I have a toddler, which means I take a ton of pictures. And Google Photos is great because if I take a picture on one device, it is literally on all of them a moment later. That's fantastic. And Chrome allows me to keep all that stuff together. Chrome allows me to keep my user profile across the web. So when I sign in on my phone or my desktop, any place, I have access to all of my stuff, all of my usernames, all of my passwords, all of my credit card data. That's great. But there is a payout on the other side of that. Google makes money off of you. You are the product to Google, right? Google just gives you all of the stuff for free. There has to be a payout on the other side. When you say do not track in a Google branded browser or a Google branded service, Google says, I'll think about it. And frankly, they'll still track you. If you have an Android phone, and again, I have an Android phone and I have an Android tablet, and I know that the following is true. When I say do not track my location, it tracks my location. I know when it says do not let a website track me, if they pay Google, that website will track me. I have no compunction about what's happening with my browsing history. I am totally lame. I read maybe 16 to 25 different websites for the most part, and they are all industry related. So, Google, track away. I really don't care. But at the same time, I am concerned that, I said my privacy I would like protected because I'm not out here to sell to Facebook. I'm not out here to sell to any of their partners. I am, my own entity on the web. And Google kind of is pretty cavalier with my wants and my wishes for what my browsing history does or what my location history does. So that's the payoff there to using Google services. And again, I do all the time. I use two browsers on my iOS devices, and that's Safari and Chrome. and most of the time it's Chrome. So I understand that I am hemorrhaging this personal private data, but I am doing it because there's a payout on the other side. I'm using Google services, all the time to back up my documents, to back up my pictures, to have access to them, to provide access to those to you guys. As a matter of fact, these are hosted on YouTube. That's a Google service. I'm using it because it's free, and that's fantastic for me. But there's a payout there. Is a little bit of a lack of privacy. So that's something I wanted everybody here to be aware of, is the trade-off there. And each of these browsers provides you with a trade-off, right? Google Chrome is available everywhere, but it hemorrhages data to a certain effect. Microsoft Edge, it's okay. And it's available most places, but the trade-off is it's only just okay. Firefox is available every place, but the trade-off is it's not native to any environment, which means if you're on a laptop or a tablet or a cell phone, you're going to hemorrhage battery life. Safari is good, but the trade-off there is it's only available on iOS devices. So pick the browser that is best suited to what you need it to be, and just know that if you find that the privacy trade-offs are too great with Chrome, pick another one. If you find that the speed trade-offs are too great for Firefox, pick another one. You've got a host of options available to you, and it's not necessarily just what was installed by default on your device.